Right, guys, now that we are, well, what are we? Got to be 70% of the way through the season now. Um, we're getting a good idea over who's going to win the end of season awards. With the actual awards, we know that it's likely to be either Man City or Liverpool that win the Premier League. I think that's fair to say. Which I mean is the only award that really matters. It's likely that Mohamed Salah is going to win Player of the Season and win the Golden Boot. It's likely that Trent Alexander-Arnold will get the most assists. It's yeah, but goal of the season, no. Oh, that's the one that comes to mind instantly for me was Mohamed Salah's goal against Man City, but that's because I'm a Liverpool fan. But anyway, the one that I'm sure is most up for debate, because there's no real clear winner, is, as you can see, Premier League Manager of the Season. So I've picked three names who I think could win Premier League Manager of the Season. I'll just go through them in alphabetical order of the clubs they manage. So we'll start with Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. Now, as it stands, Arsenal are currently the favourites to get into the top four and get that fourth spot behind Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. And yes, so it's a big improvement on, I think they finished 8th last season because they're not in Europe this season. And Mikel Arteta has done really good at sort of like trimming the fat of the Arsenal squad and like getting rid of players that are no longer really needed, like Aubameyang, like who else? David Luiz, I guess. Say Kolasinac. Who else? Mustafi. Ozil, but that was a year ago now. But you get the idea. Players that are getting on and are sort of part of this era at Arsenal where it's been a bit not one of the brighter eras of Arsenal Football Club, put it that way. And what he has done is he's brought in a really young squad, whether it be from players through the academy like Bukayo Saka and Emile Smith Rowe, or his own signings like who's he signed? He signed Odegaard, Ben White, Aaron Ramsdale, Gabriel Magalhaes. That's what I'm going with. I don't think he did sign Kieran Tierney. I think Kieran Tierney was Unai Emery. But Takahiro Tomiyasu, Thomas Partey, who else? Martinelli, I think, was an Unai Emery signing as well. But still, you get the idea that he's brought in some brilliant young talent and really freshened up the Arsenal team. And they are currently having a really good season and are probably on the best form they've been on all season in the league. Maybe in September or October time they might have been on better form, but they're certainly playing very well at the moment. So he's definitely a contender for Manager of the Season for me, Mikel Arteta. He's doing a brilliant job at Arsenal, and I don't think anyone can deny that. I mean, there have been question marks at times over Arteta, but right now he is proving all the doubters wrong. Next, I'll go on to Newcastle's manager, Eddie Howe. Now, Eddie Howe came into Newcastle. I can't remember when it was. It was sort of like end of November, maybe start of November, sometime in November. I think it was. Might have even been end of October. I'm not sure. But either way, when he came in, Newcastle were in big trouble. I think they'd just been taken over, but obviously they had to wait a couple of months to bring additions into the squad and try and get out of the mess they were in this season. Now, I don't think Steve Bruce was a horrendous manager for Newcastle. I don't think he was great. I think he was average. But I think some of the criticism he got was a bit unjust. I think the bigger problem at Newcastle was Mike Ashley rather than Steve Bruce. I don't want to go in on Steve Bruce, but he was failing to keep the club up with limited resources. To be fair to him, and the new owners have backed Eddie Howe as you expected in January with I think about £90 million worth of players like Bruno Guimaraes, Kieran Trippier, who I mean unfortunately has just picked up an injury. Who else did they sign? Dan Burn, obviously, Chris Wood, and Matt Targett on loan. So yeah, they have backed Eddie Howe, and I think even with the transfers, he over the past couple of months has done incredibly. Like I think he's improved the other players in the squad. So like 5 transfers, and by the way, some of them haven't even played. Like Guimaraes, I know he scored a screamer last night, but up until last night he hadn't played much. And yeah, the other 4, I mean, Chris Woods, you could argue, probably doesn't even get in their best starting 11 over Callum Wilson. But yes, I think there's more to it than just new signings that have been behind Newcastle's form. I think Eddie Howe's done a brilliant job so far, even if it did take a bit of time to get results coming his way. He's turned Joe Linton into a terrific midfielder, which, I mean, we didn't see at the start of the season, did we? He's also got players like Jacob Murphy and Ryan Fraser playing really well, same with Jonjo Shelvey, who I've been impressed with of late. And yeah, he's done a brilliant job at Newcastle, and they look like they should be safe now. So yeah, he's definitely a contender. I think the only thing that maybe limits him in this is that he hasn't been at Newcastle the full season, but I think that's a bit harsh if we limit him based on that. And the final person I've gone for is at Wolves, Bruno Lage, because Wolves, after in their first 2 seasons in the Premier League, they did really well, 2 consecutive 7th place finishes. And then last season really dropped off and finished 14th. I think obviously a big problem in that was the fact that they sold Diogo Jota and lost Raul Jimenez for 70% of the season to injury, like a horrendous head injury, could have been life-threatening. And yeah, so they were really struggling last season. And he did enough to keep them up. I don't think anyone was expecting them to get a European place after after the circumstances that they had last season. So he kept them in the league, which I mean is all you really need. And Bruno Lage has really sort of revitalised the team, and at the moment, after a dodgy couple of weeks, it's not looking like they're going to get top 4 anymore, but they're still definitely in the fight for Europa League and definitely in the fight for the Conference League. So he's done really well, Bruno Lage. He's helped develop Max Kilman in defence, who's looking really good at the moment. And yeah, just done a really good job at Wolves. So yeah, that's my 3 candidates, and I think who would I go with? I think I'm going to go with Bruno Lage, purely because of how he's made them so defensively solid. Yes, I know they've it's not been so good over the past couple of weeks with that loss to West Ham. Was like there were a few moments where they were a bit dodgy defensively in that, and also who did they lose to last week? Oh, Crystal Palace, and they played terrible that day. But bar those 2 games, where I think that they were missing quite a few of their first team players, so there is that. He's made them I think they're the 2nd best defensive team in the league this season, which I mean is incredible, really, given how much other teams have spent on Premier League defences, whereas Wolves, they've spent bugger all on Max Kilman. I wouldn't have thought they'd spent much on Conor Cody from Huddersfield about half a decade ago. And Romain Saïss can't have cost much either, so, not a lot really. So yeah, Bruno Lage for me is Premier League manager of the season, or who I think it will be. I mean, Wolves could lose every game from now until the end of the season, and I don't think I would hold the same opinion at the end of the season if that was to happen. But anyway, Bruno Lage is my pick for manager of the season so far, and who I think will eventually get it as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.